Today we're going to be talking about advertising partner strategies. Now, what this is referring to is basically working with advertising companies as a referral partner. The reason why we want to talk about this is because there's a natural synergy between technology and advertising. There's been a lot of different studies related to this, one of which is a famous study done by Backlink, which basically looked at the top 10 companies that are in Google that are ranking and basically trying to figure out what they have in common. They looked at 11.8 million different websites. And essentially, the most common attribute that all of these companies had was how quickly their pages loaded. And this also was directly related to the second most common factor, which was their bounce rates. And essentially what they found was everyone on page 2 had a higher bounce rate. And the higher bounce rate was directly related to page load times. There's some other statistics. Walmart did some studies on their own platform, but they found that for every second that it took for their pages to load, it increased, or basically if they were able to shave a second, it would increase conversions by 2%. And for every 100 milliseconds in improvement, their actual revenue went up by 1%. So there was a direct correlation between timing. Another study found this chart basically outlines the conversion rates related to timing. And so you can see what happens as far as when conversion rates, they peak right around 1700 milliseconds. In the beginning, it's pretty low, but then it certainly goes up rather quickly. And so there's lots of different studies related to this relationship. And this is something that if you're an advertising company, if you're doing SEO, if you're doing anything related to website-based sales, which is really fundamental to any business, page load times are so important. Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into reducing page times. But one of the biggest ones is shared servers. Is your website being hosted with other servers on the same web server? And so some companies that prioritize their traffic will put their web hosting platform on its own server. But many companies are still sharing their servers with other companies, which means they're competing for resources. Now, the way to determine if your clients or prospects are sharing their web server, which is ultimately hurting their e-commerce business, is you can go to yougetsignal.com. You put in any domain and you can identify all of the companies that are sharing that same server. This company, which is thislittlebakery.com, has 1,000 other websites that are competing for those resources. And so you can imagine how difficult it could be for them to have a higher conversion rate based on the statistics that we just saw and the impact that that's having for their business. Helping them shave that wait time and optimizing their website should yield a much better ROI for the people that are hitting their website. Ultimately, today's discussion is about timing and helping companies optimize that. But this is not the business that advertising companies are involved in. They may make recommendations, they may have some insights about what to do and where to go, but that's not necessarily their specialty. And that's why partnering with them makes so much sense. If you understand this world and how to optimize websites using CDNs and DNS and web servers and helping them navigate this correctly and becoming an expert in website optimization using server resources, you would become a very valuable partner to the different companies that are working with websites, anybody that's in the PPC space because of the bounce rates, the investment that companies are making there. Marketing agencies, obviously, they're going to be driving traffic to those websites, and their conversion rates are ultimately what determine their business model. And of course, SEO agencies, you can't rank unless your website is performing properly. And so these synergies between technology and marketing companies provide a great opportunity for us to work with them. And so, obviously, if companies are trying to optimize their website, it's to help increase conversions. And so it's a two-way street. It's not just about optimizing websites, it's about optimizing websites for traffic. And traffic requires marketing. There's a few different areas that we could use as far as identifying prospects. The Ensable platform, you can look for companies who are experiencing slow web server traffic based off of website performance. If you go into your portal.ensable.com, click on generic monitoring, and then select slow web servers, you'll get a list of all of the companies who have the latest web server challenges. Also, a good place to start is page 2 on Google. So search for anything and look at anyone that's showing up on page 2. You can analyze their web servers, see if they're using any shared servers, and that's a great place to start as well. Also, keep in mind that there is an R&D tax credit. You'll need to work with a accounting firm or anyone that understands accounting well enough in order to qualify for this tax credit, which is great because they can be added to your lead exchange and become a great member there. But there's 2 areas that the tax credit applies to related to cloud computing. In fact, they have specific verbiage for cloud computing to address this. But if you're improving the quality of your website servers or enabling better disaster recovery in terms of reliability, those 2 areas typically qualify for an R&D tax credit, which would help pay for a lot of the improvements that you're making for these clients. Again, this is tax related, and so you want to work with somebody that understands taxes, but keep that in mind as you're working with different clients. We did a training on this a little while back if you want to review the details. Now that's it for today. Before I talk about our next discussion, just remember, advertising companies make a great referral partner. Working with them makes perfect sense because they're not experts in technology, and they never will be because that's not what they do, but that's what you do, which is why if you can become an expert in understanding how to help them and coming up with experiments and understanding the tax credits and all these different elements, you'll become a very valuable partner, which means that they will be referring business to you whenever companies need to optimize that website traffic. And ultimately, all of your services should pay for themselves if you can figure out the right formula. Now, next time we meet, we'll be talking about Office 365 or M365 integration cells. We'll be talking about how to leverage M365 to open doors to new products using integrations. So until then, I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.